ekadha anugrahaya prakshena klesha rashi vishama vishadharaha aneka vakra subhodhi sarvajnana prasuti bhojaga parikaraha pritaye yasya nityam devo aheshaha savovyat sita vimalatanuhu yogado yogayuktaha yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranayama Abahu purushakaram Shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasra shirasam shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha Patanjala Mahabhashya Charaka Pratisamskritaihi Manovakaya doshanam hatre ahipataye namaha bhashyakrit sutra krichapi nirmalantam surupinam dhyataram Shripader Nityam Patanjalim Namamyaham Om Bahya Abhyantara Stambha vritti desha kala sankhyaabhi paridrishto dirgha sukshmaha. So namaste friends, last time we were discussing the Sutra 249, which defines what is called as Pranayama, the fourth anga of the Ashtanga Yoga, where Patanjali talks about how we have to restrict or control the unconscious disturbed breathing pattern and actually replace that with more conscious, more stable pattern of breathing, which is conscious, which is long and smooth, etc. And how to achieve that pranayama, how to achieve this replacement with conscious breathing is explained in the 50th aphorism of the second chapter. Bhakya abhyantara stambha vrittihi desha kala sankhyabihi paridrishtaha dirgha sukshmaha. So in this sutra we have we can see the great genius of Patanjali, where in one sutra he is presenting the entire framework of pranayama practice. Now, to help us understand this much more easier, if you consider any process, the process has three parts. On the one side, we have what is called the raw material, the input. So you have, let's say, for example, clay and water. Then it goes through a process, and then you have the third part, the result, the output. In this case, let's say a pot. So every process has these three parts there. There is the raw material, there is a process through which this raw material is going through, which results in some kind of finished goods or a consequent product. This sutra can be understood in this same manner, where you can divide it into three parts. Bahya abhyantara stambha vrittihi. This part is considered to be the raw material or the input. Desha kala sankhyavihi paridrishtaha. This is the process. Dirgha sukshmaha. This is the consequence or the end result. So here the raw material is the three components of breathing. Bahya vritti, abhyantara vritti, stambha vritti. Bahya vritti. Vritti means movement. Bahya means outside, external. So when the breath is moving outside, that is exhalation. So it's another name for exhalation. In other contexts of yoga, the word rechaka is used. Abhyantara means inside, antara means inside, abhyantara, intimately inside. Vritti, movement, when the movement is inside, that is considered as inhalation, where we are breathing in, where we are taking the breath inside us. Stambha vrittihi, there is the stopping, suspension of movement. Stambha means to stop, to halt. So when you halt the movement, that is considered as retention of breath. So in pranayama, we have these three components: the exhalation, the inhalation, and the retention. Now the retention of breath can be either after exhalation or after inhalation, and therefore actually we have four components of breath: exhalation, retention after exhale, inhalation, retention after inhale. So this becomes the raw material. And each of these four components have certain functions. For example, the exhalation is considered as the letting go breath, the cleansing breath, the relaxing breath, etc. And this is very significant that Patanjali starts with the exhalation, because unless we empty something, we cannot really fill up something. So the exhalation, consciously done, is the first thing that he wants us to focus on. And you will see that in the principles of pranayama, the first thing that we are asked to regulate is the exhalation, to make the exhalation more conscious and more longer. So in some way, it eliminates toxins in the body, either literally or metaphorically. Literally or metaphorically. The inhalation is considered as the manifesting breath, the vitalizing breath. And this is also very significant because unless you let go, especially the toxins, what will get manifested will be the seeds of the toxins, not the good seeds. And when you look at it, that's why when the farmer is tilling the soil, before he plants the seeds, he is removing all unnecessary things in the earth, like maybe some other plants are there which could be an enemy of the plant that he or she is going to plant, some parasites, some plants that are fighting with these plants. So in some way the cleansing has to be done first before something is filled. And this is very, very important in many, many dimensions, letting go. And this is very, very fascinating also because when we are born out of the mother's womb, the first thing we are doing is crying, which is an exhalation act. And also, when we are dying, the last thing we do is an exhalation. And that is why life is actually between two exhalations. One in the beginning, one in the end. And this is very, very symbolic because the first exhalation is considered to be the letting go from the mother who has nourished us for 9 months in the womb. And so now, through that exhale, in some way symbolically we are letting go the physical attachment to the mother and taking our own breath. And before we inhale the breath of the world, we are first emptying our capacity of the lung by exhalation, then taking in the breath for the first time. And the same thing when we are dying, the last breath we take is an exhalation, where we are letting go of this attachment to this life, to this journey of life, so that we are prepared for the next journey of life whenever that happens. While we are on this journey, we don't know what will happen on the other journey, so it's better to focus on life during life and not worry about life after death, because that's a journey we have not yet begun. So that's why the exhalation is the focus first in the sutra. I told you in the last sutra, when talking about the unconscious disturbed breathing, the inhalation becomes the first focus. Whereas when we are talking about conscious breathing, the exhalation becomes the first focus, and that's why Patanjali reverses the order and says Bhakya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, Stambha Vritti, in that sequence. Now what do we do with this sequence? Desha Kala Sankhyabe Paridrishtaha. Patanjali says you have to put this to 3 parameters. 3 parameters of Desha, Kala and Sankhya. Desha Paridrishtaha, Kala Paridrishtaha, Sankhya Paridrishtaha. Desha, Kala, Sankhya, 3 parameters. Desha means location or place or focus or direction. That's why Ācārya Krishnamacharya explains this as Desha Paridrishtaha Sharira Bhagaha Mudradi Abhyasaha Bhavana Sahitaha Cha. He says that when we are considering the concept of place, we have to consider the context of Sharira Bhagaha. That means the place in the body. So when you are doing pranayama, why is it that we are breathing through left nostril one time, right nostril one time right nostril, one time left nostril, one time mouth, one time nostril, throat breathing? This is called Desha Paridrishtaha. There are reasons for this. And these reasons are also coming from the model of the chakras, the 7 chakras. The techniques of yoga are not based on modern medical science. They are based on the science of the yogis. So certain breathing techniques like focus on the exhalation are connected with the lower chakras. Certain techniques like the inhalation are focused on the upper chakras, etc. So, and then certain things control the left side of the body, certain things control the right side of the body, etc. So that's why we are putting the inhalation, exhalation and the retention through specific places in the body. Like Nadi Shodhana, we are breathing one time through one nostril, exhalation through the opposite nostril, then inhaling through that nostril, exhaling through the opposite nostril. The reason is we want to influence certain things on different sides of the body. We want to influence the upper part of the body through these kind of techniques that are called the Mrigi Mudra Sahita. That means those that engage the Mrigi Mudra, which is the mudra that is used to control the nostrils. All this has specific reasons. Maybe there is blockage on one side of the body much more than the other. Maybe there is blockage in the lower part of the body. Maybe there is some blockages in the upper part of the body for somebody else. So that's why we are evolving all these different techniques of breathing in the pranayama, where we have Ujjayi pranayama, Nadi Shodhana pranayama, Anuloma Ujjayi, Viloma Ujjayi, etc., where the techniques are defined based on the location of breath, based on the location of inhale, the location of exhale. That's called Desha Paridrishta. But pranayama is not just simply breathing in, breathing out through one nostril or the other. It also includes other things like mudras and bandhas and other techniques, which are advanced pranayama techniques where we are focusing very intensely the energy in one part of the body. Jalandhara bandha, we are locking the chin, lifting the moola. Uddiyana bandha, we are focusing on the lower chakras, moola bandha as well. Certain mudras like Viparita Karani mudra, Mahamudra, etc., they all have the function not at a physiological level but at an energetic level in certain parts of the body. That's why these are all part of what is called Desha Paridrishta, which means to consider the place. So that's why it's not conscious breathing. Unconscious breathing, it is conscious breathing. You don't unconsciously breathe in through the left nostril and breathe out through the right nostril. You have to consciously do it. You don't consciously lock your chin down, lifting the moola to do Jalandhara bandha. You have to consciously do it. Unconsciously, it does not happen. You are not unconsciously breathing in your sleep through the tongue, what is called Shitali Pranayama. You have to do it consciously. That's why these things become conscious. Paridrishta. Carefully consider, carefully and consciously consider. The same, very fundamentally, the technique of breathing itself in yoga practices, which is called pranayama, I told you last week. In Bhagavad Gita 4:29, 4:30, it is described. Apane jukvati pranam, prana apane tatha pare, prana apana gatirudhva, pranayama parayana. Even the simple act of breathing in and breathing out consciously must be done in such a way that the inhalation is where the breath, the energy, not the breath, the energy is moving from the prana desha to the apana desha. And exhalation is where the energy is moving from the apana desha to the prana desha, the place of apana. There is this energy called apana vayu that is being moved up towards the prana desha. Desha means a place. That's why in India we have a lot of deshas. Andhra Pradesha, Madhya Pradesha, all these are names of states. It refers to a place. And some of them, they think they are even better than the Desha, so they call Pradesha, great place. Uttar Pradesh, great place. That's because there is Ganga. So it's even more important than Andhra Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh, where these things are not there. So there is reasons behind that. So the same way, we are putting the inhalation and exhalation and the retention of breath, suspension of breath in different places. For example, in Uddiyana Bandha, we are contracting the abdominal region inward and lifting it upward and holding it. That means that place, we are lifting it up and suspending it for a few seconds before releasing it, so that we are releasing Uddiyana Bandha. So even these things, the suspension of breath can happen in different places. Bhavana Sahitaha cha, Ācārya Krishnamacharya says, sometimes also visualization. Like I told you, when we are visualizing the breath moving from chest to belly, belly to chest, it's a visualization because breath only moves to the lungs. But the energy, because of your visualization, will move from chest to belly and belly to chest. That's one example. Sometimes we can use visualizations like you visualize the sun in your heart when you inhale, the moon in the belly when you exhale, or the reverse. Or if you have a favorite deity, you visualize that deity in your heart when you are inhaling, that deity in your heart when you are exhaling. These are called Bhavana Sahita Pranayama. Visualization as a very important part of Pranayama. This is also place-based. This is what is called Desha Paridrishta. So we are putting the inhalation and exhalation through these places. And what happens when we are doing that? When we are doing that, it becomes a bit more conscious. Now normally, think about any activity you are doing. The moment you are doing consciously, what happens? Two things will happen. Automatically, it becomes slower. Automatically, it becomes more slow. Now, some things we do mechanically, right? For example, you're brushing your teeth, you're doing it mechanically. Now, just do that consciously. Don't watch news when you are brushing the teeth, but just do it consciously. You will I'll guarantee you will start doing it more slowly. That's what is called Dirgha. It becomes longer, slower. Sukshma, it becomes more fine, more subtle. You'll be more careful. Oh, I missed this spot, I missed that spot. You'll become much more careful. One of my usual places I go, the great Sangeeta restaurant, the dosa maker is making unconsciously, just put like that. So I go to him someday and tell him, sir, make it more crispy. He suddenly become more conscious. So immediately it's taking very slowly, very carefully, he's doing it. So anything, any action, when you do consciously, it becomes slower and more refined. The same with the breathing. The moment you are doing it more consciously in this place, in that place, you cannot do in a hurry mechanically. It becomes more slow, more careful, and with greater attention, and therefore becomes more powerful. So this is the first part of the three components, Desha, Kala, Sankhya. This is called Desha Paridrishtaha. Now with Pranayama, it's not just place. We also have to do what is called Kala. Kala Paridrishta. Kala means the aspect of time. When you inhale, when you exhale, there needs to be a time limit of inhalation and time limit of exhalation, because inhale and exhale have to follow one after the other. But by combinations of different durations, we are suddenly changing the impact that the same techniques will have. So that's why the ancient people, the yogis, they said, okay, you are doing inhale, you are doing exhale. In certain moments, you will need to focus on exhalation greater than inhalation. So make the exhale double the duration of inhale. So if you inhale 5 seconds, exhale for 10 seconds. So that becomes the ratio what is called 1-0-2-0, whereas inhale is 1, exhale is 2, and there is no retention after exhale. Sometimes you have to emphasize on the inhale, and for various reasons, they never double the inhale, they usually introduce the retention after inhale. So inhale 1 unit, hold after inhale 1 unit, exhale 1 unit. That will make the inhale more strong, because inhale and hold after inhale is 2 units, 1 plus 1. Exhale is only 1. So your inhale gains more power. So they created these kind of ratios in the pranayama, and they call these ratios what is called samavritti and vishamavritti. Samavritti pranayama are the pranayama where the active components are equal. So one inhale, one exhale, inhale and exhale are equal. That is called samavritti. One inhale, one hold, one exhale, one hold. That is called samavritti because every component that is active is equal. Vishamavritti is the other part where inhale 1, exhale 2 units, twice the duration of inhale. That is vishamavritti because they are not equal. 1 and 2 are not equal. And there are some very fascinating ratios as well where inhale 1 unit, hold after inhale 4 units, exhale 2 units, hold after exhale 1 unit. That's called vishamavritti because everyone is not the same, they are all different. 1 inhale, 4 hold, that makes it 5 for the inhale part, 2 exhale, 1 hold, that is 3 for the exhale part, they are not equal. So this is called vishamavritti, and they did that also to influence certain specific benefits. All yoga practices are called lankana, samana, brahmana, etc. Again based on which chakras they are reaching. So if you change the ratio, you are changing the effect. One pranayama ratio may be very langhana, 1-0-2-0, an example. Another pranayama may be another ratio, for example 1-2-1-0, maybe brahmana, more the upper chakras. And this is very fascinating because even the same pranayama technique like Ujjayi or Nadi Shodhana, if you do it with a brahmana ratio, will have a different effect than a langhana ratio. That's why you cannot fix the benefit of the pranayama, like Ujjayi will give you this benefit, Nadi Shodhana will give you this benefit. You cannot fix it because by changing the ratio, you are having the capacity to change the effect that you will have in the practice. So it's for these reasons also that they were changing the ratios. Now think about it. If somebody is saying, do this for 2 minutes, do that for 4 minutes, do that for 8 minutes, do that for 2 minutes, now you can't really become unconscious. It cannot become an unconscious pattern. Because please remember, yoga is always about doing things consciously. Sometimes even practice can become unconscious and mechanical. Inhale, raise your hand, exhale, lower your arms, it can become mechanical. But the moment you start bringing in combinations of ratios like that, it cannot become mechanical. Every time you have to pay attention. So that's why when you look at texts like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, they even say that pranayama is like meditation because you have to focus on that breath and nothing else. You cannot think about other things when you are measuring the duration of every component. Your mind cannot be focusing on other things. Your mind has to be focused on the breath. That's why the pranayama itself becomes like a meditative process where you are closely engaging with your own breathing. This is what is called as Kala Paridrishta. However, there is a small catch. We are saying measure 5 seconds inhale, 10 seconds exhale. Now in modern times, we measure 5 seconds and 10 seconds based on the clock or the watch. So we have a technique where we have divided 1 minute into 60 seconds and we know what is 1 second, what is 5 seconds, what is 10 seconds, etc. But the yogis of the past, they had no watch, they had no clock like we have. So how did they measure time in the breathing? So this is where a very controversial topic comes, which is called mantra. Because in the old days, they were measuring time based on the duration of a chant, because each mantra was considered to have certain number of syllables. Like Narayana Moola Mantra has 8 syllables, Shiva Moola Mantra has 6 syllables. So if somebody was a Vaishnava, he would use the Narayana Mantra where the syllables are 8 seconds, always 8 syllables. So when you have to inhale and exhale equal duration, when you inhale, mentally you will recite the mantra 1 time. When you exhale, mentally you will recite the same mantra 1 time. That makes it equal inhale and exhale. You have to do the ratio 1020 twice exhale compared to the inhale. You would recite the mantra 1 time during inhale, twice during exhale. The same mantra. So 8 syllable mantra during inhale, 8 syllable mantra 1 time, 8 syllable mantra 2 times during exhale. That becomes your 1:2 ratio. So the ratio, the kala, in the old days were always samantraka, with mantras. Not only because they didn't have a watch, they never thought about, oh, somebody will discover watch, but we don't have it yet, so let's use mantra. There was another reason, because the mantra is what brings prana and potency to the practice. Yoga is fundamentally a spiritual practice that deals with energy, and if you have to influence energy, you have to use mantra vibrations, and that's why in all Vedic traditions and Vedic based traditions, including things like Buddhism or Jainism, etc., mantra is an essential part of spiritual practice, and also non-Vedic traditions, because they knew about it. They knew in the ancient time that vibrations, the sound vibrations, is the one that influences energy. That's why samantraka was always emphasized in these practices of pranayama. However, history of India, there were some moments where only some people were allowed mantras and some people were not. So they had to change, and therefore some people became fit for spiritual practices, some people became excluded for spiritual practices, because if you remove mantra, you're basically removing the capacity to influence and work with prana. So that becomes an obstacle for people who cannot do mantra to benefit from it, so they were getting to become excluded. So that's a sad part of it, and now that's why we are a bit lucky in the modern era, because we have a clock. So even those who are excluded can measure the time based on the unit of counting. However, when we integrate it with mantras, the potency becomes more, and we are so fortunate that there are certain great Ācāryas like Ācārya Krishnamacharya who opened the doors of mantra to those who were excluded in the past. And that's why we today have the opportunity to share mantra with everybody without any discrimination, as long as they have the seriousness and sincerity to work with the mantra, because mantra is not a plaything to play with. It's not like a tennis ball or a cricket ball that you play with. It's something much more serious, And that's why that's the only consideration we have to have, not discrimination based on gender or identity or things like that. So this is the concept of kala. The moment you have to start measuring the duration, you can't be unconscious, you become conscious. And therefore, going back to the concept that I talked about before, the more conscious you become, the more slower and the more sophisticated the breath will become, more smoother and more refined the breath will become. The third component, what is called Sankhya. Sankhya paridrishtaha avartanaha. Avartanam means repetition. Now it's not enough if you just breathe in one time consciously, one time unconsciously and you are fine. You think that breath will become smooth. You have to repeat it again and again so that the old unconscious pattern is replaced by a new pattern that is born out of conscious breathing. To do that, you have to replace it, repeat it sometime. Let's say you have a habit. You have a habit of brushing your teeth with your right hand. Now, something happens, you cannot use your right hand, you have to change to the left hand. In the first few days, it's going to be very awkward. But the more you repeat it, the more the body and the mind and everything starts to embrace it. So the same way, the breathing pattern, the more you repeat it, what is called Sankhya, the more you will start, the body and the mind will start to embrace this new pattern. And that's why this is called Sankhya Paridrishta, the number of repetitions. And the number of repetitions was very often based on the tradition you belong to. If you were belonging to the Shaiva tradition, you would do the number of repetitions as multiples of 6. Because these are the Shiva Mula mantra is 6 syllable. So you will repeat it in multiples of 6. Whereas if you were belonging to a Vaishnava tradition, you would repeat multiples of 8. So based on the tradition you belong, the multiples would be based on that, so that there would be somehow a connection to the mantra that you are using, because every mantra has a certain number of syllables. So it's somehow a mathematical formula. However, the maximum number of times they were doing was usually about 24, not more. Because they were more focused on quality, not quantity. Let's say, for example, you are able to breathe in 5 seconds inhale and 5 seconds exhale, and you are repeating that 12 times. Now, on a scale, 5 times inhale, 5 times exhale is 10 seconds for one breath. You multiply it by 12, that is about 120 seconds, which means that's about 2 minutes. Now, when you are more comfortable with that, the goal was not, okay, now we do it 24 times. Now we do it 36 times. Now we do it 108 times. That was not their goal. The goal was, okay, we do it 12 times, but let's increase the duration of 5 seconds inhale, 5 seconds exhale to 10 seconds inhale, 10 seconds exhale. So when you do that, 10 plus 10 is 20, multiplied by 12 is 240. That is more valuable than 5 seconds inhale, 5 seconds exhale 24 times. So quality was much more important than quantity. So Sankhya was never greater than 24, and that's also a very fascinating thing, because 24 is both a multiple of 6 and of 8. That's why all Gayatri mantras are 24 syllable. They are all 24 syllable. That's why it's even called the 24 syllable mantra. That's why the repetition is never to do more and more repetition, but just to reach one optimum repetition, but then focus on quality, kala, go back. That's why kala and sankhya, they have to go hand in hand. It's not useful always to increase the kala, because the sankhya, the kala has to be increased. But in some moments you will see that you have to increase the kala, some moments the sankhya, but not too much. And that's why you have all these three different parameters when you are doing, because if you have to do it 12 times, you have to count 12 times. That means again you have to pay attention how many times you have done. So many of us, when we are asking people to repeat one asana 6 times, they forget how many times they have done. Did they do 6? Did they do 4? Did they do 5? They forget. For 6 times we are not able to pay attention. For 6 times, which is not much. So that is how disturbed we are in modern society. So when you start paying attention to the number, once again you become more conscious of your process, which means the breath will become longer and smoother. Dirgha and sukshma. Dirgha means long, and long has also multiple significances. You can't keep extending the breath forever. Your breath cannot be like 1000 seconds. It's not possible. So they gave some markers of what is important, what is not important. But what was more significant is the long is a metaphoric meaning. In yogic language, all the word for prana and the pathways of prana are always considered as the names of rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, etc. Now, what is considered a long river, what is considered a short river? That river that travels the longest distance, that is considered long. Right? So, when you look at it as a metaphoric way, when prana is flowing as the river in our system, what is the meaning? When prana is moving through all the chakras smoothly, without any blockages, that is considered dirgha. It's not literal. Oh, I have to be a champion of breathing. I have to breathe in 60 seconds, I have to breathe out 60 seconds. Then I get a title that I am the world's longest breath. That's not the goal. The goal was the effect. The river is flowing smoothly and also sukshma. Smoothly, that means without any obstacles. It's not getting stuck here or there. That's why if you read certain old texts, you will see that they use certain terms like prana is stuck in this chakra, prana is stuck in that chakra. It's like a blockage. The river is blocked. Somebody built a dam. That means the river is not going farther distance. Its flow has been cut. So we need the prana, the energy, to flow smoothly and to flow long distance. It does not refer to the literal breath. It does not refer to the literal breath. Breath is one medium through which we are influencing the prana, especially when combined with mantra. If we remove mantra, the breath is not going to be influenced by this prana the same way. So that's why, my friend, this topic of dirgha and sukshma, the output, is also not to be taken literally, because when the prana is flowing long, that means it goes through all the chakras in a smooth way. That means all the functions of our body are functioning in a healthy manner. All the emotions in our system are functioning in a healthy manner. Nothing is blocked. So that blockage is what we are trying to remove. pranayama where energy is blocked. The goal is to allow the energy to flow very smoothly. That's why in very old texts, all the names for the nadis, they are also using the names of rivers. Ida Nadi is called Ganga, Pingala Nadi is called Yamuna, Sushumna Nadi is called Saraswati. They are the three main rivers in India in the past: Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. And if you go to a place called Prayag, you will see this is called a Sangama. The three are meeting. And that metaphorically is in the Mooladhara chakra. That's why Prayag is a very important place, because it's symbolically representing what is happening in the system. Because on one hand, the Ganga is coming, on the other hand, Yamuna is coming, and below under the earth is Saraswati. The same way, Ida, Pingala are coming, and Sushumna is below along the spine. So that's why that place is so significant. It's called the Prayag. Now, since the invaders came, it is called Allahabad, but in the old days it was called Prayag. It's a very symbolic place. So, pranayama is influencing prana, not just the breath. And this sutra is very significant because this sutra is presenting the whole framework of all the pranayama techniques, the ratios, the repetition that we have to engage with, so that we can make the breath long and smooth, and as a consequence, the flow of prana long and smooth. This is the summary of the Sutra 250. Bahya abhyantara stambha vritti desha kala sankhya bhi paridrishta dirgha sukshma. Namaste friends.